Hello and welcome to PHP Alive and Kicking, brought to you by PHP Architect and made better by our partners at Honeybadger, but more about them later. This podcast explores the latest developments in PHP and what it's like to earn a living in PHP today. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Page, better known as Mike Page Dev. I'm a developer at PHP Architect, and my co-host is a long-time contributor to the magazine and now a fellow team member, Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. This is a pre-recorded episode, but me and Chris will be in our Discord channel whilst this goes live if you have any questions. And I'm sure our guests might be able to pop in as well. So please do join us in Discord. There's so many brilliant people in there. There's conversations going on there all week long. You could meet all sorts of people in there. People that contribute to the language, people that write packages that you probably use every single day. Everyone's in there. So that's a great community to be a part of. Another thing we wanted to say, don't forget that we now have a store, a merch store, and I will bring that up on the screen. Or not. There we go. So we now have a merch store. So do pop over, have a look. New designs being added all the time. So that'd be that's that. And then we have a conference. So don't forget about our conference. Tickets are on sale. So it'd be great to see you guys there. Okay, that's all our little bits of sort of intro, bit stuttery start, but hey ho. Shall we get on with what's going on in PHP today? Who have we got today?
So today we're inviting a good friend of mine, Steve McDougall, better known as just Steve King, and freelance content creator.
Hey,
let's bring him in. Hey Steve, how you doing?
I am here. I am good, thank you. So I was just looking on the PHP Arch store, thinking about building my little Christmas list of
Nice
new T-shirts to get. There's some cool ones on there.
Yeah, definitely.
I think my favourite is the inkblot elephant. That one is brilliant. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I like it, but I like the I have standards one.
But Steve, I've seen your code.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it should be I have opinions.
Well, he can still have standards. It just doesn't meet your standards.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on.
Hi, I'm off now. I've been insulted.
We've only just started. I'm sure Chris has got some more insults on the way.
I'm sure he does. Don't worry, I've got my my burn cream at the ready.
Good. I think you need it. Well, we generally start off by asking our guests one simple question, and that is, how did you get into PHP?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I've never written a single line of PHP. I've written bad PHP. Does that count?
Yeah. It's still PHP, isn't it?
Yeah, you could call it that. Okay. So, I was a Linux system admin, and my job involved kicking the mail server once a week, and the rest of the time was playing Call of Duty. It was a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, especially as like a young 20-year-old, I think I was, playing Call of Duty, getting paid to do it, occasionally kick the mail server. Pretty fun. But I got bored, and I could see the dev team always busy, always doing stuff. And I was like, why are they so busy? What are they doing? So I kind of had a look to see what they were doing, and they were like actually creating stuff. Not just, shooting zombies and occasionally kicking a bit of hardware. So I was like, okay, that looks interesting. Had a chat with them and said, figured out what languages they were using. The guy over here was using JavaScript, and I was like, okay, well, that looks cool, kind of. What are you doing? And this guy was using PHP, and I was like, okay, that makes sense in my head, looking and reading it. And I went to the last dev, and he was like, I use .NET, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm over here. I'll see you later. So I decided to teach myself PHP. Main reason was because I used to carry around a USB stick with MP3s on it to and from the office. So I could listen to music at the office, go home, listen to music, and I was happy. But one day I forgot my memory stick, got to the office, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to talk to people today. This isn't good. The socially awkward thing to do is learn to code. So I taught myself PHP, built an online MP3 player that I could log into, upload my MP3s, and listen to it everywhere. This was like before iTunes on the cloud and before the cloud existed. So, it was useful for me, and it got me into it. And I got even further into it when I was going on holiday, and I didn't want to pay for Dropbox. I was like, why would I take all of these photos on my camera while I'm on holiday? I don't want to store them on my device because, if that gets fried going through the scanners because of the magnetic stuff, I'll lose my photos. So I need to put them on the cloud, but I don't want to pay for Dropbox. I've got a server that I own that is in the data center. That's costing me nothing. So I'm going to build a little file storage app as well. And it really just gave me the bug. And from there, I just switched from being a system admin to being a developer, basically.
Nice. So when you say you were kicking mail servers, is this literally kicking them?
No, it was more SSHing in and restarting a few services, clearing out any logs that we forgot to kind of properly archive. Yeah.
So you did it properly and not the old-fashioned way?
Yeah, did it right. I had to used to travel to go to the data center, so I couldn't just go kick it. If I was there, maybe, but I was about 20 miles away. So
something I remember, Steve, there's a few podcasts floating around with you, Eric, and John on them, and I seem to remember they had a bit of a nickname for you. Was it fucking Steve? Where the hell did that start?
So I've been a fan of podcasts for quite a long time. Anytime I'm washing up in the kitchen, I'm doing a barbecue, I'm doing something in the garden or anywhere, I put on a podcast. My wife will go straight for music. I'll go for a podcast because it's time for me to catch up. And I'd ran out of episodes of all of the podcasts that I listened to. And I asked on Twitter or in a Slack group, and I was like, what's a good podcast for me to listen to? And someone recommended PHP Ugly. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. Listen to it. And for the whole episode, they were just really hating on Laravel. So I was like, I went on Twitter and I was like, I just listened to PHP Ugly for the first time, and I'm not sure I like it. All they're doing is bashing Laravel, and I don't really think they know Laravel very well. And they jumped on. I think Eric jumped on Twitter and replied to me, and then it kind of left it at that. And then literally the next week, I'd been a guest on a few podcasts. So the next thing Eric knew, he'd never heard of me. He saw me on Twitter saying, not sure I like PHP Ugly, all they do is complain, to listening to podcasts where he's just talking about me all the time. And he turned around to John and he was like, you never guess who was on, I think it was Voices of the Elephant. He was like, who? He was like, fucking Steve. And that's how it started. So yeah, that's how I became fucking Steve. Basically.
Yeah, fair.
And little did you know that they use Laravel in the majority of their clients.
Yeah, I know, right? I was just looking at it. First time listening to it, and after about 15 minutes, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this one. All they're doing is complaining. I don't get it. So I just kind of tuned out. And then I kind of went back and re-listened after the chat with Eric over Twitter. And then I listened to some older episodes, and then I caught back up, and then I started listening every week, and I started to enjoy it. And it took me a minute to get the style of the podcast, I think.
I think it's the American humour.
It must be. As a British person who is half German, I am naturally dispossessed to humour. You know, I'm either going to get it or it's just going way over my head.
And I don't think a lot's changed in the later podcasts. They seem to complain, but these days it's not about Laravel. It's usually about other things.
It's probably, I mean, the age of Eric and that is probably about the backs these days, isn't it? I mean, they're older than me, but I'm already complaining about my back, so they must be really complaining these days.
Shush, we have to be careful. They do watch this.
And also employ us.
They employ you, not me, so it's okay.
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter about you. It's what we say. So, Chris, be on your best behaviour.
Best behaviour, Chris.
Yes.
This is my best behaviour.
I know. I've worked with you in 3 different jobs, I think it is.
Yeah, it has been.
So yeah, that's how fucking Steve came about, and I guess that's how I got into PHP. By accident, a necessity, and ignorance, I guess. A little bit of all of the 3.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have quite a few sort of similarity, not what that word that I can't say.
Similarities.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Thank you,
okay.
Chris. That's why Chris is on the podcast, to say the words that I can't say.
He is a lot cheaper than Grammarly Pro, I have to admit.
Yes, but unfortunately, I haven't figured out how to do Grammarly text to speech yet. So, well, I'm sure one day I'll have time to figure that one out. Anyway, because although I started or came into this industry a lot later than you did, I was working in secondary school. Started off as the theatre technician, doing all the sound and lights stuff. Then they needed some help in the IT department. Went into the IT department and changed passwords, basically, for a living. That's pretty much what I did. And the occasional go round and force updates on Windows machines because things didn't update properly. Or just go and teach someone how to print because they couldn't work out how to print. But yeah, these people are the population of the country that are teaching our youngsters.
Yeah,
and that's a bit. They were very nice people, and I joke, and I always used to joke with them as well about it. But and I don't think
it has come a long way though since they started doing, well, they call it computer science in schools. I think the level of IT literacy has had to go up for teachers.
Yeah, I'll definitely, especially with COVID. I mean, having to run a school online, that was a challenge. I was already in the IT department by that point, but I'd only just been doing it for probably about 3-4 months. And before that, I didn't really have much experience with computers. I just liked the idea of learning how computers work properly. And
yeah,
I had started looking at some HTML and things to build a website, and like you, I was reading a book on HTML and going, "This makes sense. I understand this. This makes sense to me." But also going through school, because I'm dyslexic, going through school, being told I had to go and be a builder or a carpenter, do something with your hands, don't do something with your brain. It sinks in, and you think, no, I can't. Those sorts of jobs are beyond me. I can't do those. And then you start doing it. You go, hang on, I'm making a living out of this now. So I'm doing a computer science degree at the same time. So up yours, everyone. But yeah, no, and then I was told
confidence building of British teaching.
I think that's changed as well. Working in the school for 6 years, I did see a big change in how they deal with things like that. But I'm talking about back in the mid-90s. They didn't really understand what dyslexia was and how to help me. They just knew I couldn't spell very well and read very well. So they just thought I couldn't do anything very well. And so I was held back. Things, even like things in maths. Maths I'm really good at. And I was actually held back in maths because of my dyslexia, even though my parents were going, but he's really good at maths. Then the maths teacher would phone at home and complain because I was doing the work whilst the teacher was explaining it to the rest of the class. So I almost, as soon as she sat down, I was taking my work over to be marked and say, here you go, I've done it, it's done. He goes, that's because you're not listening to me. No, it's because I can bloody well do it, and this is too easy for me. But no one listened. But and then
luckily things have changed, right?
Oh, definitely, so much better now. My daughter is now about to approach her 20s. That's scary. That's a really scary thought. But she's
really old.
Yeah, it makes me feel really old now. But she has dyslexic tendencies, as they call it these days, because schools won't test for dyslexia. But they helped her a lot, and she did really well in her exams at 16, and went on to college for 2 years. So she's done really well. And so I have seen a difference from that perspective, and working in a school at the same time. But like I was in the IT department, and we were going into a multi-academy trust. And the guy that was the head of IT in the other school had built an intranet, and they wanted to bring it over to our school. And he was becoming the director of IT, so he didn't have time to work on it and bring it in. So he goes, right, here you go. I heard you've got a bit of interest in web development. By that point, I've learned a little bit of C# and a little bit of HTML. He goes, here you go, and just handed me the code. And I went, oh, I don't know what any of this is, and spent like the summer learning PHP, and that's kind of it. That's how I got into it, really. So yeah, I see a lot of similarities there. Hey, I managed to say it that time. So anyway, I think that's a good point to jump to our sponsors.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a quick story about our sponsor, Honeybadger.io. One time, a customer of theirs had a background job run overnight that caused hundreds of thousands of errors to be reported to Honeybadger by mistake. Like many other error tracking and performance monitoring tools, Honeybadger bills for monthly usage, and so this customer's mistake was going to cost them a lot of extra money that month. If you've ever used a monitoring service, you might have experienced something like this. Well, fortunately for this customer, they emailed Honeybadger's support and received the most amazing reply. Honeybadger was resetting their monthly quota and canceling their bill. This is just one example of how much the small team at Honeybadger cares about their users. Ask anyone you know and you'll hear similar stories. Go check them out at honeybadger.io. It's free to get started and setup takes less than 5 minutes. Don't forget to bookmark it. That's www.honeybadger.io.
Thank you, Honeybadger. So, Steve, you do a lot of streaming, and you have a slightly more unique approach to your streams and your educational content you put out there. So we thought we'd have a bit of a chat about that and how you approach it and what your thought process is.
Yeah, sure. Also, I'm going to apologise for any delay. I live in Wales and the weather is terrible, which affects the internet. So bear with me.
No, I don't think there's that much delay. I think we're all good at the moment.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, I started streaming because, well, I ran a user group here in South Wales called PHP South Wales. In-person events, they were great. COVID hit, went online, not a big deal. But before COVID hit, I was starting to kind of feel like the talks I was giving, I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed helping others. So I wanted to look at how I could do it more frequently than once a month. So I thought, I'll live stream on YouTube. And if I help one person, I help one person. Mm-hmm. At first, I was literally streaming. I think it was like 4 times a week or 2 times a week, one of the two. And I really enjoyed it. And my approach is just take advanced concepts and explain them in a way that developers will get. and show less experienced developers that it's okay to make mistakes. Look at me, I've been a dev for well over 10 years now, and I still make so many mistakes, so many typos, things still go wrong. It's just how you deal with it. Just try and battle that imposter syndrome. And that's kind of been the whole kind of theme of my live streams, is that I'm going to take these topics, I'm going to explain them to you, and if things go wrong, we'll work through them. And that's what I do these days. Sometimes I do sponsored live streams where a company will sponsor me to do a live stream about something or using their product or anything like that, but it's mostly just educational.
Yeah, it's cool. I've enjoyed that sort of approach where it's unedited, it's unscripted, and you just take an idea and you code. And for me, especially when I started watching your videos, so from, I'm sure you could tell from my sort of story, it's I've only been developing for about 5 years, full time anyway. So finding your channel and your streams early on in that process helped me a lot, because I'm watching you're making mistakes the same as I do. Sometimes you can't always find it or spot it instantly what the error is, and or you're jumping into Google to find out what the answer is. Although I think the trend now is to go to ChatGPT these days, not Google.
Yeah, so much easier, right?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I resisted for quite a long time, up until a couple of years ago, where I went, actually, let's see what it can do. And this summer I used it a few times, trying to get. I just tried to get some code out really, really quick, and wasn't sure the best way to approach it. So threw it into ChatGPT, and then threw it into the code, put in the error messages, see what worked, what didn't work. And then, I do find it quite funny though, when it does churn out some code and you look at the code and think, that function doesn't exist in PHP, I'm pretty sure. You look at it, no, it doesn't exist in PHP. And then you say, that function doesn't exist. Oh, yes, you are right. I'm sorry. Here you go. Try this one. It's like, but as we all know, and most people probably listen know, that the source of where it's getting it from, I think sometimes it's getting confused with the different languages. But we use it with care and caution is my message. It's more of a pointer.
Definitely.
The other thing,
I do like the new Laravel error page as well, because you can copy, if you've ever copied or had an error on a recent Laravel application, you can copy the error as markdown to paste into your LLM now. Whereas before it used to be, go have a look on Stack Overflow and that sort of thing. Copy it as markdown so you can just drop it in your LLM. And use it, the request context, a load of different things, the full debug backtrace, and it's just like, bang, here you go.
I've not tried that actually. Yeah,
I did it on a live stream yesterday. I was literally, why am I getting this error? Copy, paste. Cool, copy, paste. It's working. So proper copy pasta code, but
But I think the difference is
it's okay.
I think the difference is, Steve, you actually understood what was put back out from the AI. So you could look at that and go, yeah, that's a logical solution to this problem. All you were doing was using the AI as a shortcut to get to the answer. You probably could have gone through the docs and then found the problem and then found the solution.
I could have
coded it.
Trace, but I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. When you're crawling through 50 lines of vendor calls, it's like, okay, which is the one that I'm looking at?
Yeah.
And sometimes that one is quite hard to spot. I have sat there for a long time.
It'll point to some app code, but it says, okay, you had an error on line 53, but in actual fact, it could be, 10 to 15 lines, either direction or in a different class that is calling code anywhere within that range of lines. So,
in fact, I had something yesterday. I was just doing a bit of work on one of my personal projects, and what was it I was trying to? It came up with this error. but it was to do with the cron job in the vendor. And it didn't give me any indication in my code where I'd gone wrong. Luckily, I had realised that, okay, so it's got to be to do with something I'm doing in the scheduler. Looked at it, and I completely messed up the scheduler, giving it an invalid input for something like which day to run the job on.
That's where you just comment it all out and you just go through kind of potluck, uncomment that one, does it work? Uncomment that one, does it work? Uncomment that one, does it work? Uncomment those three, oh, it broke. Which one of those three was it?
Well, luckily I've only got 3 running in this one at the moment. I'm sure it will get bigger. And it was the most recent one that I just put in the feature that I was working on. And I had misnamed the variable from the config. I just written in the wrong one, so it was just passing in nothing. So it's like, oh, that would be why it breaks.
Have you ever accidentally used the pound sign instead of a dollar for declaring variables?
I'll tell you what.
Of times I have done that.
I've done it so often the other way round when I'm trying to email someone the price of something, and I use the dollar instead of the pound.
Yeah, but that's
I'm a lot more careful when it comes to billing than I am for coding, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I use the dollar more often than the pound. And yes, as Chris says, we because we work for an American company, we're quite often talking about dollars, not pounds, and it's very rare that I actually talk in pounds. So yeah,
I still haven't got used to looking at dates and going, what the hell is the 16th month of the year?
You just got to hope one of the numbers is bigger than 12, and then you can figure it out.
I had
because if you give it to carbon.
Right, so this is just before I think you joined, Chris. So I've been working at PHP Arch for nearly 2 years now. Right, it's about just over a year and a half now, and it was just recently. So it's in between Joe joining us and you joining us. So I remember posting something. I can't remember the exact message, but it was something I was trying to figure out. And I was dealing with time zones, which is a pain. And I can understand. I always thought, why do Americans always complain about time zones? I get it now because they have so many different time zones to try and deal with. It's confusing. But I was trying to deal with this whole thing of dealing with dates in the database that weren't UTC. They were being stored as as in relevance to a time zone. So I'd have to pull it out, convert it, do this, do that, and I couldn't. There was something that was going wrong, and I posted it in our Slack channel to say that I can't work out what the hell is going on here. Here's the error message. Here's the code. Someone just see what I can't see at the moment because I've been staring at this for so long now. And about an hour or so later, Joe comes on and said, "I can't believe it took me this long to work it out, but you got your date and your month the wrong way round." So I had done it like we would write it over here, but Carbon doesn't take it that way round. Or no, I was doing it from format. I was doing create from format, putting the string in and telling it what the format was, but I got the format the wrong way around.
I always have to look at the docs for those date formats. I'm not going to lie.
I do.
There's one that I use all the time. I can never remember it, so I always have to look it up. I just like to use the helpers of diff for humans and to ISO string. Done. Any other format, not my problem. I build APIs. You don't need a pretty date from me. You just need some data.
Yeah. So that's always a fun one. And and then we quite often we argue about how to spell things. That's a big argument that we have.
With an extra U and no Zs. That's the correct way of spelling it.
Oh yeah, and I've quite often pointed out that let's just take this through. You're using the English language, and which member of the team is English? So who's right?
They're using American English. They're using an altered version because they couldn't quite figure out how to use English properly. And this is where we apologise to any American listeners, but not Canadian listeners, because they're an asshole.
Ah dear, yes. Well, I'm sure all our American listeners know No, we're joking now. We certainly joke about it enough in the Discord about spelling.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, anyway, you mentioned it. You build a lot of APIs.
I do.
What's
quite a few.
It's kind of your speciality. That's another word I can't say very well.
Yeah. It's I specialized in it a while ago. I figured out that I really suck at CSS, so I needed a solution to that problem, and that solution was not to use it and to build APIs. So I focused on APIs, and it's done me well so far.
Yeah, makes sense. You know that there's this thing called Tailwind out there now. So
this was before Tailwind.
Okay.
Even with
All right.
Tailwind, I suck. You know, it's like, I don't know what I need to do here. Let's just go have a look on Tailwind Plus and other places and see what I can cobble together, then just kind of start to match the style.
Fair enough.
I mean,
fair enough.
these days you don't need to know CSS. You just ask ChatGPT to do it for you. Yeah. And then you get something that looks exactly like every other site that ChatGPT does for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the state of CSS these days is somewhere between Lego and color by numbers. It's, let's see what free resources and templates I can nick things from, and then go through and find and replace all the BG dashes, make sure it's the right color. Done. There's my design. Fantastic.
But then you have to pick between your color types, because do you want to use hex? Do you want to use named colors? Do you want to use
named colors? Tailwind or nothing. You know, if I'm not using Tailwind, I'm clueless, to be honest.
But you've got like 6 different ways of doing the same thing in CSS, and none of them work the same as the other.
And they say PHP isn't very good.
Yeah, no, I'm not so much a designer. I don't mind CSS, and I think I kind of got okay with it. But I'm not a designer, so I struggle to come up with the ideas of how to make it look. Give me a design, I can make it look the way you want it to look. In my previous role, I had one project. I had to get everything pixel perfect. They had the designers do every single screen, and I had to do pixel perfect. Else they would go back, no, that's not right. That's not right.
So you know the old meme of the back-end developer doing CSS with a ruler on his screen. That was me. I did that.
No word of lie. I have actually had to do. I have done that myself. I've used that method to make sure I was getting the pixel perfect. I got the screen up. I've got one screen with the image, and because they just gave me a PDF of with every screen in it, so I had no way of telling what the sizes are that they wanted. They just gave me PDF, so it was ruler, making sure I got the same aspect ratio, ruler on there. Oh no, I'm a centimetre out. Exactly, I was doing that.
And you figure out that after a while, a centimetre is actually like 17 pixels, so you can kind of slowly do it.
That was a few years ago. I don't remember now what it was. I've not had to do that, but yeah. So that, in fact, that was my first job in my first full-time role, was to do those pages, and that was
At what point did you work out that you were zoomed to 75% on the PDF and that you were actually building it wrong?
I have, yes, that happened once or twice. I was zooming in on the PDF to try and make it the same size as my other screen, because I do have two different size screens. So I got an ultra wide, and then I just got one of your normal sort of.
Everything was against you, and there you were with a ruler.
yeah, and hang on. Oh no, this is just that still doesn't look right. But it was also a project that I had to. It had to have 2 languages. It had to be English and a Middle Eastern language, and I can never remember which one it was. But so I was having to obviously use other fonts to do this, and there was a really weird thing that I discovered. That I'll just copy and paste from the PDF into the code, into I think I was using CS Code back then. Just copy it into CS Code, but it wasn't looking the same. All the different symbols were different. And I'm looking, why is that different? And I figured out, because I was using Linux, if you did it on Windows, it was fine. For some reason, the copy and paste in Linux, the symbols wouldn't carry over correctly. So I then had to go back and do the whole lot again. Because I'm like, I can't. I just one page. I just noticed. I went, that symbol's slightly different. It doesn't look the same. And when we sent it back to ask them whether it was right, they said, no, that's a completely different word. So, oh no. And then so that was an interesting thing to try and deal with as well. But and getting the sizing of that was even harder. Getting that right.
I think we need to rename the podcast CSS War Stories or Battle Stories or something.
Well, let's move away from CSS now, because as you say,
we've all been traumatized by CSS enough.
So one of my favourite videos of yours, Steve, is one that you did probably a couple of years ago now. I've been building APIs wrong my entire life.
Yes.
That video opened a whole wave of other things afterwards. Why don't you talk to us about what that was about and expand on that a bit?
Yeah, sure. So as most people know, I've been building APIs for Laravel for a very long time. Before that, it was Slim PHP. And before that, I think I was wearing nappies. Who knows? But basically, I'd heard about API Platform before. I'd looked at the docs and I thought about using it, but then I kind of assumed that, okay, I need to know Symfony really well. And, I've not touched Symfony since Symfony 2. So I was like, I'm not really confident in doing that, so I'm just going to keep going with Laravel. I've got a workflow that works for me. I'm good. But then when... I can't remember what happened, but the Kevin Douglas reached out to me on Twitter, and he said that, keep it under wraps, but we are building an API platform adapter for Laravel and wouldn't mind some input from you, being the opinionated, loud-speaking asshole that you are. Obviously, not in those words. Kevin's actually way too nice to say that. But I can read between the lines. So basically, I helped kind of direct it a little bit to make it feel as native to Laravel as possible. Anytime there's a release, Antonio would message me and be like, yeah, can you have a look at this? What do you think? Does this feel Laravel enough? Is there anything that we could change or anything that we need to think of? And I almost acted like a kind of behind the scenes project manager of just, that's good, every now and then it got released at the API Platform Conference. But that video was about, I'd kind of discovered I could use API Platform within Laravel and how I could use it and how you could kind of really build really quick APIs using it. So, a lot of the time when I've built an API in the past, there's been so many CRUD APIs that it's just mind-numbingly boring to build, right? It's just, build models, build a validation, the controllers, the routes, authorization, we're done. But that whole process is like so many lines of repetitive code. And what API Platform does, it just allows you to go, okay, here's my models, done. And, it just spurred me into why have I not been using this longer? I could even figure out doctrine enough to work with this. I don't need an in-depth knowledge of Symfony. So I've been building APIs wrong. I should have just done it this way and then figured out the rest. So that's the roundabout way of saying how and why that video is.
Yeah, and that led on to a live stream with you and Kevin sort of discussing it And that's
Yeah.
a really good one that's worth watching. I'll link that one to the show notes later.
Yeah, basically, I invited him to join me, and I was like, I'm going to do a live stream with it. Do you want to jump on? And if I've got questions, I can ask you, and then I have to look at docs, because we all know I don't read docs. So yeah, he joined me, and then I got invited to speak at the API Platform Conference. So yeah.
The thing I really like about that one live stream is the fact that you can see all the way through it. You're like, why are we not all doing it this way? And it's
yeah, exactly. It was like, how do I do this? Oh, you've already done it. I was like, oh, okay. So what do I need to do? Is that, well, what do you want? I was like, this. You've already done it. So I'm done. Yeah. What? Well, you could sum the whole 2-hour live stream into that sentence, right?
And that is one of the things that is so amazing about API Platform, that we've got to the point where add a few attributes to a model and you're done. Now, we can already do things that generate the models, like Laravel Blueprint.
Yep.
Use
you can
Laravel
go from
Blueprint.
YAML to API in 5 minutes.
Yep. So 99% of your time is now spent working out what the API looks like. And then about 5 minutes typing.
Yeah. And I think about 400% of your time is then spent, moving cards around the project management and calculating story points.
Yes, yeah. And then arguing over how long a story point is, because that's logical to take this abstract concept and make it a time.
Yeah. My general rule has been 2 story points is half a day. Anything less than that, you're looking at a few hours. We're not looking at, figuring out how long people are spending based on minutes here. It's, hours and chunks of the day. So I've always gone for 2 story points is half a day, done. No matter what it takes, if it takes you 3 hours, is that closer to half a day for you or not? If it is, great. That's 2 points. That's the way I always kind of did things when I was a manager.
And I think it's interesting, actually, when you think of that the whole point of the abstract story point is that what's your half a day might be my 3 days.
Yeah, exactly.
And the whole point of story points is that it's the amount of effort for an individual person. And getting people to understand that, particularly project managers, to understand that a 2 does not mean it's going to take the same time as somebody else.
Yes. Project managers.
Who'd hire?
They're like the lawyers of the tech world, aren't they? Nobody likes them, but we need them.
Do we?
Well, I mean, we got AI now, so maybe not. I mean, the project manager, I apologize. I do like you, really. Just
there is a project manager we've both worked with that I would say is absolutely brilliant, and that's Bex from GCC.
Also, I recently did some work with Titan, actually. I did a little bit of contract freelance work with Titan because they needed help on a project. And of all of the companies that I have worked for, they've got their shit together. They really do. They're so organized. Everything's so fluid. Their project management is just done to a T. That is one thing I would definitely say for that.
Interesting you should mention that. We actually had Matt on the podcast not long ago.
Good old Matt.
And yes, he was talking about that, and he said that the first thing he said to you was, Steve, I want you to write the least Steve code possible.
Yep. And I did write the least Steve code possible. And at the end of that contract, I was like, any feedback? And I was like, well, you kind of over-Steved it a bit. I was like, I think the biggest problem as a developer is when you're told, right, I need you to do X. How you get to X is, different in everybody's head, right? Mm-hmm. And it just so happens mine may have detoured, a few other alphabet letters.
I mean, at one point, I think yours was detouring through other entire languages.
Well, I had to make sure that I was, covering all different keyboards, right? Not just, standard QWERTY.
Yeah. Got to make sure we're doing Dvorak.
Exactly. They're important too. And right to left, just in case.
Yeah. I mean, that didn't confuse me at all when we were hosting that one stand. And I was using Veteran's keyboard. And it's like, where are half of the letters that they normally use?
Wasn't that We Are Devs?
Yes, it was.
And you're trying to write something on his keyboard and you just... Where are half of the letters and what's that squiggle? British person using a Croatian keyboard is not really the most graceful thing to watch in the world, is it?
The best bit is Vedra was standing back and just laughing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, just going back on something you just said there, Steve, about it was something that Matt mentioned in his recording. That we'll have to make sure, Chris, that Mac's come out before this one now. That's because we're referring. That's right. You remember those things. I don't. Always forget. But one of the things you're saying, and I think it's very true, is yes, everyone's got opinions on how to write code. It's not just PHP or anything. Everyone's got their own opinions. It doesn't mean that any of them are wrong. It's just that some people like it done slightly different, and that's why companies quite often have guidelines on how to write code for them.
Exactly.
Luckily, in my last job, I was the only PHP developer, so no one cared how I wrote PHP. They just cared if it worked.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Let's go.
And then working now with PHP Arch, it's normally sort of looking at how the code's already been written and trying to follow the same sort of patterns. But it's handy when you've got the code reviews in place, whereas something else I wasn't used to, and I found that very helpful and useful. That's one of the things I wanted to, when I was made redundant from my previous job, it's like, I want to make sure I'm in a team this time. I don't want to be the solo dev. So startups...
being the solo dev.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I was very freeing. I could just get on with stuff. I was producing the work. The stuff worked.
But you start to it feels like you're in an echo chamber after a while, right? Because you've got no one to turn to, no one to point you in any other direction.
Exactly. And although the other guys, they were C# developers, and I could sort of rubber duck with them and sort of go, right, this is a problem, and I'll talk it through, and they might think of a programming concept that, have you tried this? This is something, if we had that sort of problem, this is how we'd solve it in C#. And then I'd have to go and work out how to then do it in PHP, which wasn't always that difficult, to be honest. I mean, I see a lot of similarities between the two. So it's...
I mean, I think the biggest difference is licensing, and that's about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things they do slightly wrong.
Isn't it open source now? Didn't they open source a language for C#.NET?
They open source something. I don't know if it was the
full
language.
Yeah.
Again, I'll double check and make sure it's in the notes, but they definitely open sourced at least a massive part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll be honest. I've not kept in touch with that sort of stuff. But
I mean, one of my main reasons for going for PHP over .NET C# back in the day was, as a Linux system admin and getting .NET C# to run on my Linux server was going to be next to impossible, and I didn't want to pay for Windows license, so PHP it was. I'll teach myself that. That works. It doesn't, it's free, it's open source, there's a big community, and being a Linux guy at the time, I was all about open source. I remember going to my interview for that job wearing my Tux Penguin tie and falling over it in the car park. That was a fun memory. I was on crutches because I'd not long had knee surgery.
Yeah.
And it was raining because it's the UK, obviously. But I had one of those really annoying kind of hard rubber mat things on the car park, and my crutches just went like that, and I just went like straight on the face before going into the interview. And I think they saw me out the window, which is why they gave me the job.
They just felt sorry for you.
Yeah, basically, they felt sorry for the cripple who fell over with the funny tie. Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to chat about, Steve, you have several opinions on pretty much everything, and you seem to have managed to use that to become a member of PHP Fig.
Yes. I don't know whether it's because of my opinions I got into PHP Fig, or because I spoke to someone already on PHP Fig very nicely and said, "Can you pencil me in?"
So not necessarily because of, but in spite of.
A little bit of both.
Yeah,
I think. So obviously, I've been part of PHP Fig now for about a year and a half. Haven't really done much. It's it's mainly just checking emails, replying to things. If there's anything that you want to run with, you've got to get support from the frameworks and then run with it. Most of mine's just been feedback and opinions. That's mostly what I've done, to be honest. I think I've only got a few months left on my my term with PHP Fig, and then I either gonna carry it on or I'll step aside and let someone else come and join PHP Fig for a bit as a core committee member. And if they want to join, then and they feel they've got something they can make an impact with, reach out to me and I can put you forward. I'm happy to step aside for the next person who wants to have a bit of an impact with PSRs.
So just for anyone that doesn't know, Steve, do you want to explain what PHP Fig is? Anyone that doesn't know what that is?
Yeah, so PHP Fig is a framework interoperability group, and it's like the Gestapo of the PHP world. I'm joking. No, it's is that going to be edited out?
No, definitely not. It's in.
I mean, there is one bit that is definitely not being edited out of this, and that is the fact that you actually remember what they're called.
Yes.
Our second episode was Sarah Goldman, who was trying to talk about PHP Fig and forgot what they were called.
So, it's basically a group of people from the community who are either part of a framework, own one of the kind of PHP standard recommendations, or they just really like standards and have opinions like me. What happens is they kind of collectively come up with a standard, such as PSR 18, which is my personal favorite, which is the interoperable HTTP client. And the idea of that is that you will build the PSR itself is just a set of interfaces and exceptions that your client implementation must follow and adhere to, so that in app land, in Laravel, Symfony, Slim, Tempest, whatever it is you're going to use, you will end up kind of, okay, I'm going to use Symfony's PSR 18 client, or I'm going to use React PHP's HTTP client, or I'm going to use this other one. And it just allows you to switch between them. So the whole point of the kind of PHP Fig and the PSRs is to have a set of standard features and interfaces defining core things within the PHP language that will affect you in your day-to-day app code. I think that explains it relatively well enough, but I could probably go on for another 3 hours about PHP Fig and PSRs, but I won't.
I mean, I think one of the things that's quite interesting about it is it's not something that is like prescribed that you have to do it this way, but it's a guideline of if you do it this way, it can just drop in place of.
Yes.
And it gives people choice. And that is one of the things I love about PHP. We have choice on everything. I mean, I can find 30 frameworks that boil it down to its basics. They all serve a web page, but there's like 30 different ways of serving a web page. And we can all choose between any one of them, and it will just feel familiar. It will feel like we know roughly what we're dealing with. It might be called something different in each framework, but we know we're going to be looking for, in most cases, a controller. We know we're going to be looking for, in most cases, some form of model.
Exactly.
And you don't get burnt at the stake if you don't follow PHP Fig's rules yet.
No, not publicly, but if I would you? Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It's a recommendation, not it's a guideline, not an enforced rule. It's this is how we think you should be doing it, and loads of other people agree. Follow it or don't. Like Laravel, for example, doesn't really follow any PSRs. They've added more PSR support over time, but they didn't come out of the gate following PSRs, and they're doing okay. Laravel developers are doing okay even without following PSRs. So I know you can kind of convert a Laravel request to a PSR request, and as of I think it was Laravel 11, they introduced the HTTP auto discovery for HTTP clients, so that you're not just stuck with Guzzle, which is, I guess, where a lot of PSRs kind of came from, was using things like Guzzle and some of the frustrations on the kind of like early to late PHP 5s.
And PSR is one aspect of what is happening with PHP Fig, but you've also got the PER of evolving styles and things that will change with time. And I find it quite interesting to read some of the coding styles that are suggested in the one that's active at the moment. And it's interesting to see how different people's inputs have led to an opinion on how to lay it out.
Yeah. And it's funny, I remember when I first saw some of the kind of the standard recommendations for laying out your code, and I really didn't like it. But then I started to adopt it, and then I started to okay, this makes more sense the more I use it. And I think if people can withhold judgment sometimes for a little bit, they'll get to the point a lot quicker. It's easy to battle it. I mean, I remember when I first tried Laravel. For the first 2 years, I hated Laravel. Absolutely hated it. And I was like, why the hell would I use this? And it wasn't until I was in a kind of a SaaS producty role and I had to use it that it made the most sense. And then it started to make sense in other scenarios. But when I first got introduced to it, I was diehard Slim PHP user. I architected things my way. I did things my way, and it just worked. I didn't see the point in having to do anything a different way. Why did I need Eloquent when I've got PDO when I know SQL? But it makes sense. Once you get used to it.
And that's the evolving opinion. You learned, and then your opinion changed. And that is something that, for me, makes a great developer. I will hold to my opinions until the cows come home, until I change them. That ability to think about your code from someone else's point of view it's one of the things that elevates you in this community.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the easiest way to get to that point is to work in open source, because a lot of people are going to see your code if you do it open source, and quite a few people are likely going to use it and feel frustrations with it. And it's the easiest way to not only kind of learn to think about it, but also to get humbled by it. But I think it's quite easy to build some kind of complex as a developer when you're very isolated to be, nothing wrong with my code, it's great, this is exactly how you should be writing it. And I think he who shall not be named, Mr. Trongate, is probably a perfect example of that one. He's very isolated in the way that he does things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you can't stand on a mountain and say you're amazing when there's nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
And that is one of the things of open source. The whole point of open source is that it is collaborative. If I come and drop a pull request on your thing, unless it is complete rubbish, you're going to look at it and think, well, I'll use this bit, not that bit. I'll change this bit, and look at how does this make what I've written better. And
I'm going to learn from the way you've done something, or you're going to learn from my feedback. But combined with, someone's learned something. There's a better solution out there, and more people can benefit from it. So, I think open source is definitely something that really helps these situations when you're learning PHP.
Absolutely. I mean, you've written quite a few packages that I've used personally in a fair few apps, and they're all things that sort of, to me, feel like they were initially itches for you, that you wanted a way of doing something, so you created a package, and then people start using it, and it's like, why are people using my code? And
yeah, exactly. I think that every now and then, I think the time that stood out to me most, I think I went for a job interview, and we were talking about code and how to do something, and they're like, "Yeah, we use this package. Have you ever used it? Do you have any experience with it?" And I was like, "Well, I hope so. I built it. That's my package." And I don't know why you're using it, because there's such a better way to do it these days. But yeah, it's. I think the biggest problem is that Packagist also becomes a bit of a dumping ground for ideas and tutorials. Like, I hate to think how many to-do apps are stored in Packagist and GitHub.
Yeah.
And
you also get a lot of things that sit on things that sit on things that sit on things, and it's like, well, one
an
of
abstraction
these
of an abstraction.
Yes. But you're then left thinking, well, how far back do I have to go to find out what this is actually doing? I mean, it amazes me that there's a difference between something like Pest, where it is a new approach to doing something that already exists, and somebody who's literally wrapping something, changing its name and saying it's new. And you've seen recently what happens with supply chain attacks in the Node.js world. There's been 60 packages compromised with a total of 4 billion downloads between them.
And they were all probably frameworks created within the last 3 months.
Yeah. And
brand new framework.
Yes. I mean, it's Monday. There's a new framework out.
Yeah. Funnily enough, there is a new JavaScript framework coming out, but I'm more excited about a PHP framework, Tempest, if I'm completely honest. I don't know if you guys have used it much, and I am very much a Laravel guy when it comes to writing code, but Tempest it's a one framework at the moment that is really catching my eye, and I'm just keeping an eye on it. I'm dabbling with it and playing with it, but I'm not doing anything serious with it yet because I want to kind of see how it goes. And the reason I mention it is because the 2.0 came out today, and I saw it on Twitter before I joined the stream, and I was like, that's really cool. I love what he's done with it. From the ground up, modern PHP framework without the backwards compatibility issues that you're going to face. So if you haven't tried it, give it a try. Seriously, it's confusingly refreshing. Because if you're used to Laravel, you're going to look at it and be like, what the hell do I do here? But if you just kind of battle through it, you're going to enjoy it. And you'll be like, wow, I'm just writing PHP.
Yeah.
And it's great.
I mean, it's something that I've said to you before, that in the PHP world, we're starting to see juniors now coming into the industry who are saying, I know Laravel. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. So you know PHP? No. I know Laravel, or
And-
I know
and
Symfony, or
Yeah, you see the same in the JavaScript world, though. It's I know Next.js. I'm a JavaScript developer. I know TypeScript. No, you know Next.js and their implementation of React. You don't know JavaScript, because if I show you this Svelte app and ask you to debug it, you are going to shit your pants. You know, it's the same. Like if you're a brand new Laravel developer straight out of a boot camp, say, and you throw them into some 6-year-old cake PHP or Symfony code, they are going to run for the hills quicker than Iron Maiden.
I love the fact that you pick on cake PHP, knowing where I worked.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I've used cake PHP quite a bit in the past. It had its good points, it had its down points, it had its confusing points, and then I just stopped looking.
I mean, in defense of cake PHP, it is not a bad framework. It's down to how you use it. As with any other framework, if you fight the framework to do it your way, you might as well use the one that does it your way.
Yeah, exactly.
And cake PHP has some fascinating ways of solving problems that, I mean, it's still around and it's still being used in production, so it's not all that bad.
That's very true. That is very true. It stood the test of time, hasn't it? And I think their convention over configuration approach has probably, it appeals to a certain type of developer, where it's just, I know how to do this. I can just go ahead and do this. Whereas Laravel, it's a little bit more kind of, I don't know. It's like let's compare it to like an old school diner where you go get a coffee and you just get a filtered coffee. That's cake PHP. Laravel, Symfony, that's more like your Starbucks and Costa, where it's like, almost pick your own adventure.
See, I actually think it's one step further than that. I would say Laravel is like your main chains where you have multiple choices, but it's restricted choices. Symfony is like you've got your own factory. You can make coffee however the hell you like.
Yeah.
So Laravel's a little bit more restrictive, like you're at Starbucks, but you're lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
The toilet's closed, I'm lactose intolerant, and I'm stuck at Starbucks. What do I do?
Probably not drink a Starbucks.
I still drink Starbucks. It's just, how busy is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
I don't know where I was going with that one. But...
yeah, I'm going to slightly divert quickly. So it's reading. Basically, we're saying learn the language first, then the framework, and then don't fight the framework that you're picking. That's kind of where we're at. But you need to learn the language, and that's something that I think I tried to do the best I could when I started, was try and learn as much PHP. I've probably forgotten most of the PHP I've learned because I work heavily in Laravel these days. And there are times where I'm sitting there going, oh, hang on, is that a Laravel thing or is that a PHP thing?
Yep. The number of times in a plain PHP app I've tried to start a collection and then gone, fuck.
I can imagine it's more difficult that way around, working as just a vanilla or working in a different framework, and you just start writing, you think, oh yeah, I'm writing PHP, and then you realise, actually no, that helper doesn't exist here.
That wasn't PHP.
That's over there. So
the one that really caught me out big time was working. I'd done Laravel and I'd done Cake PHP, and this was on the same customer. And every time I went back to the Cake PHP app, it was like, I really want to use direct injection, but it can't. I mean, it can now. There is now a way of doing that. But Cake PHP didn't have a DI container. And it's like, why would I want to do that? Was the answer that we got from the framework.
Yeah.
And that caught me out no end of times of, well, why would you want to work out the model from the root? Because it saves me doing it. if you put it in the back end and do it for me.
That's very true.
Yeah. Anyway, so one of the things we like to kind of try and highlight, we like to talk about what's new and what's up and coming and what excites us about PHP today. A language that, as we've alluded to before, people keep saying is going away. It certainly isn't. It's now 30 years old. So what's exciting you about PHP?
I think PHP 5, there's a few cool things coming out, but I think we're maybe a couple of versions away from anything kind of that's really going to blow anyone's socks off right now. But you can see the way that PHP is going with the new involvement of the PHP Foundation and things like, the better generic support for kind of just runtime stuff is fantastic. Better, stronger typage. We've taken over the Franken PHP project, so that's now been pulled into kind of like a PHP Foundation project. We've got fibers. You can see we're slowly starting to go, okay, we've heard all of your pains over the last however many years, and we're starting to kind of move in the direction of a modern language. We're already a modern language. We're a good, strong modern language, but we are moving in a direction that the other modern languages like Rust and Golang and Zig and those are all going. And it's all about kind of stronger types, asynchronous code. That's kind of modern development, and we're slowly getting there with PHP, I think. That's what excites me most right now, is just where we're going. There's no one specific feature, if I'm honest. I think I'd love to say... Yeah, exactly. I'd love to say a single feature, but I think the one that made the biggest change for me was enums, constructor property promotion, and that's been it most recently. There's other things that have come out, but they're not as useful to me on a day-to-day basis. Constants in interfaces is nice, but I can't remember the last time I needed that. So,
but that's also interesting. Is it that you don't need it, or is it that you didn't have it, so now you've built a way of doing it without that?
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin, isn't it? Have I just built my own kind of coping mechanism for the language not having that feature, or did I just not need it in the first place?
And that applies to any language. It's not just PHP, where things come out and you go, but I don't need it. Well, actually, maybe it deletes that whole chunk of code that you've written over here.
Yeah. And I think the progression of PHP is going in a very good direction, whereas, let's take JavaScript, for example. They've had to create a superset, TypeScript, to make the language good and relevant again. And even that can't be ran natively half the time. So I think for a 30-year-old language, we're doing pretty damn well.
Yeah. Totally agree. So we running slightly longer than we would normally. So
sorry. When me and Chris get in a room, we just talk too much.
That's right. We'll just have to have you back another time. We'll talk about other stuff. But I've thrown up on the screen your YouTube channel. Highly recommend, if you don't know Steve, not subscribed to him, go over some great content over there. As we've talked about, some of the videos you've done on there that have sort of stuck out to us. I will probably go back and re-watch that one about APIs. I did watch it once when it first came out, and I'm gonna have to go back and watch it now. I think that's my on the watch list for this afternoon.
Another one is I actually did a talk at API Platform Conference last year when it kind of came out as a kind of official supported Laravel adapter. And my conference talk is about, here's how I do it in Laravel, here's all the steps, and here's how I can do the same thing with API Platform and Laravel. So it's a good comparison. video if you wanted to see something different. That's not on my channel. That's on the API platform channel. But definitely,
we'll get the link and we'll put it in the description for that. So thanks for that recommendation. We'll certainly check that one out.
It's probably better to watch that than my video on my channel, if I'm completely honest. It'll just explain it much better because, you know, that talk was planned and prepared for. My live stream was a spur of the moment, let's do this sort of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, but some people might like that kind. I personally quite like your approach of it makes developing a lot more accessible, in my opinion. Just watching someone's not just have it all scripted and. Because I remember when I first started, it was all
executed. My video and live stream is of look, I make no mistakes. I'm fantastic.
Yeah, that's I've watched hundreds of videos like that when I was learning, where everything is actually spot on. You can clearly see quite a lot of the time they're copying from a script they've got on another screen, and they type. And sometimes they don't even type it. They go, "Yeah, I'll just copy and paste this in here. Here's a link you can get on to GitHub."
Here's a little thing I made earlier. Yeah. Cheers for that. But
actually watching someone build something, have errors, try and work out what the errors are. I think that's a great approach.
I also like to show the natural refactor points, because I think that's one thing that people don't get taught is when to refactor and why to refactor. Which is why I do everything the way that I do it. And it's why I write content the way I write it and why I live stream the way I do it. It's just because it's got to feel natural. And if it's not feeling natural, people aren't going to learn.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap it up now. So don't forget to head over to the store to get some swag from us. I'm going to change the screen because poor Chris is just behind all the links there. Don't forget to head over to the store. Also, don't forget, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to PHP Architect magazine. It's loads of great articles in there.
And treat yourself to an Archie, because they're still being sold.
Yes. They are. Well, I will say
I have a serious question. Tony, when is that back in stock? Because I don't have one and I want one.
Go and ask in Discord, because we don't know the questions to that. We'll have to answer. But I will say that just obviously we're pre-recorded. I don't know exactly which week we're going to release this episode, so stocks may vary.
Yes.
Especially on the elephants. They are going quick. So I do apologise when you see this and you go and they're not there. Possibly.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure the Laravel elephant and Archie is still in stock.
Archies are going fast. Eric told me a couple of days ago they're going pretty quick, the Archies.
Yeah.
So this moment of recording,
new design, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
I believe so. Let me double check.
But at time of recording, they're in stock. Whether they're still in stock when we release this episode.
Here's the new design that I'm a PHP architect, and here's the original before Eric and that took over.
Ah, okay.
So you got the old and the new, slightly different oranges too.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Also, get over to the website and get tickets to come over to PHP Tech. It'd be great to see people over there. Love the conference. Obviously, I've been over. I've been over a few times for that conference. Should we just throw Steve in the green room while he's mucking around?
No. I think we should just watch how big he can build this pyramid of elephants.
How much more time have we got?
I'm giving up.
We're already running.
Not long. I've actually got to go on school run in a minute, so I can't really play Stack the Elephant this time.
Oh dear.
Right, we're having a live stream where we actually play Stack the Elephant, Steve.
Yes. But we're going to interview. We're going to interview you at the same time and see if you can do two things at once.
Oh,
and we can only end the stream when they're all stacked.
Challenge accepted.
Oh dear. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah, get tickets to Tech. They are on sale now. Great conference. Very welcoming and family feel sort of conference, I would say. I thoroughly enjoyed both years that I've been over there, even though I was there to work. I still thoroughly enjoyed it. So
PHP Tech is one of the conferences that I really want to go to. Just real PHP feeling conference is nice. Chris has sung its praises.
Yeah. So, have you at the moment? So at the time of recording, call for papers is still open. It might not be by the time we actually publish this because we've got so many backlogs recorded. We've just been on a mission. We've recorded so many the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure when this one will go out yet. But
2027's looking good.
So when you're talking about your Christmas list, Stephen, we're going to be
Why is he talking about his Christmas list in February?
At time of recording, yes. Also, get over to our Discord if you're not in there. Me and Chris are obviously in there. Steve's in there occasionally. Not in there as often as he used to be. But
no, now that I don't write a column so much anymore, I just don't have the time.
Yes.
So I'm not on Discord much. I try and be more often.
Yeah.
Problem is, every time you open up Discord on a Mac, it's got 6 updates. It's like, oh, really?
So we'll let you know.
Mate, if it's been a week, you're up to about 30. What I want to know is, what are they updating? Just the version number?
Probably, yeah. Version number and a new emoji.
Well, we'll let you know, Steve, when this one goes live, and if you're free, you can jump in and answer any questions that anyone might have in Discord. Other than that, I think that is us for this episode. So we will see you all next time. Bye.